Love is supposed to feel safe. But what happens when the person you married won't protect that safety? When silence becomes betrayal and loyalty becomes a weapon? There is a kind of pain that does not shout. It does not break things. It does not demand attention. It simply sits, quietly, in the corners of your heart, waiting to be noticed. Sonia felt that pain. Not the loud kind, not the kind people see, but the kind that slowly convinces you that you are alone. Even when you are married, the cameras turned off, the lights dimmed, the audience left. But Sonia's reality was just beginning. Walking out of that studio felt heavier than walking into it, because now everything had been said, and yet nothing had truly changed. Some truths don't fix things, they expose them. And exposure can be more dangerous than silence. Philip followed behind her, not as a husband, but as a man caught between two worlds. One he chose, and one he refuses to leave. And somewhere behind them, his mother stood, unshaken, unmoved, unapologetic. Because control does not fear exposure, it feeds on it. The drive home was quiet, but not peaceful. Silence can be many things: comfort, reflection, healing. But this silence was heavy. It carried words that were never spoken, decisions that were never made, boundaries that were never drawn. Sonia stared out the window, watching the city lights blur past. Each light, a reminder that somewhere, someone feels loved. Somewhere, someone is protected. Somewhere, someone is chosen. And then there was her, sitting beside a man who refused to choose. Philip held the steering wheel tightly, as if control of the road could make up for the lack of control in his life. But deep down he knew this was no longer about peace. It was about courage, and courage was something he had been avoiding. Home, a place that should feel like peace, a place that should feel like safety. But for Sonia, home had become a battlefield where no one fought for her. The door opened, and the air felt different. Not warm, not welcoming, but familiar, in the most painful way. Because sometimes, you don't fear a place, you fear how invisible you become inside it. Philip's mother sat exactly where she always sat, like a queen in a kingdom that was never hers to rule. And yet, no one had ever challenged her throne. Power does not always come from authority. Sometimes, it comes from unchecked presence, and she had mastered it. Sonia stepped in, not as a wife, but as a guest. In her own marriage, there are battles people don't see, not because they are hidden, but because they are ignored. Sonia had fought quietly, for respect, for space, for love. But the hardest battle was fighting a man who refused to stand beside her. Because when your partner becomes neutral, you are no longer in a relationship. You are in a negotiation for your own worth. And every day, she was losing. Not because she wasn't strong, but because she was standing alone. Philip watched her, day after day. But watching is not the same as protecting. And love, without protection, begins to feel like abandonment. Every woman has a limit, not a loud one, not a dramatic one, but a quiet line that once crossed changes everything. It is the moment she stops explaining, stops begging, stops hoping, and starts seeing. Seeing the truth, without excuses, seeing the patterns, without denial. Seeing the man for who he truly is, not who she prayed he would become. Sonia was getting close, very close. Because pain, when repeated long enough, stops hurting and starts transforming. And transformation is where everything changes. Philip was not unaware. He saw it. He felt it. He knew. But knowing is not the same as acting. Because sometimes, the hardest thing for a man to do is disappoint the person who raised him, even if it means losing the person who loves him. He stood at a crossroads, not between right and wrong, but between comfort and truth. And comfort is a powerful prison because it convinces you that avoiding pain is better than fixing it. But avoidance has consequences, and Philip was about to learn that silence always chooses a side. That night, nothing exploded, no shouting, no confrontation, just silence. But this time, it was different. Because Sonia was no longer waiting. She was no longer hoping. She was no longer asking. She was deciding. And decisions made in silence are the most dangerous ones, because by the time they are spoken, they are final. Love can survive many things, distance, struggles, even mistakes, but it cannot survive being consistently unprotected. And as Sonia lay awake that night, staring into the darkness, one truth became clear. She was not afraid of losing her marriage. She was afraid of losing herself. And that fear was finally stronger than her love. Sometimes, the strongest thing a woman can do is walk away before she disappears completely.